I'm lactose intolerant, so I've had to reject a lot of milkshakes, unfortunately. I always feel bad. Hey, I'm Paul Dano, and I'm being forced to talk about myself. The Batman.
Why is she still tied?
There was some resistance in me at first because didn't want his glasses to be like stylish or something, but there was something about the clear frames with the mask and with the saran wrap, which is something we added, where it just felt right. It felt really right, and I cannot quantify why. I love Batman. I think Gotham is the coolest, and our backlot was just insane, and the L train over us and that diner, and that was a night filming that diner scene where you some out of body, or you step out and you go like, this is a movie. Like, there's a movie moment. By Matt having such a specific point of view and a new one, it gave me a lot of freedom. You know, like, this Riddler, like, I'm not gonna worry about the other ones or the comics, or like, you know, I tried to take all the archetypal energy I could from the comics, and I read a ton of them, and I'm writing a comic now about the Riddler, and I was shocked by how much I loved putting out the film and engaging with that fan base, being, again, a fan myself, and how much fervor there is around the Batman.
You think you'll be remembered? You're a pathetic psychopath. Begging for attention. You're gonna die alone. No! A nobody! No!
I also think that, like, that's why, like, why would we keep making these, right? Like, it's to reinterpret, and it's to reinterpret it for the times as well, to keep investigating a character in a world. So I think for people like Matt and Tim Burton and Chris Nolan, like, and then whoever's gonna carry it next, like, I think it's gotta be an artist with a point of view who's taking that character and that city for the time that we're in. Little Miss Sunshine.
So who do you hang out with? No one?
I auditioned when I was 18, and for the next couple of years, anytime I came to LA, I would meet with the directors, Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Faris, and they would basically be checking to see if I looked too old. That character of Dwayne, I knew him, and there was a specific friend I had thought about when playing that part, and I didn't know how many other people, I guess, would also know him, because it felt like they did once the movie came out. One of the first scenes we filmed is there's a dinner table scene quite early on in the film. I think they used 2 cameras around us, and there's a lot of family talking and a lot of action verbally, and I'm trying to participate in that, but without speaking. I mean, I think I tried to experience the world like that a little bit, right? To communicate without speaking and use the notepad. We did some really fun in-character rehearsals for that as well, where we got in a van and went bowling and went out to the diner, and I didn't talk. And I have some really good memories from that film, being stuck in the back of a hot van with Alan Arkin, who was such a joy. And everybody always, you know, asks if Steve Carell was the funniest person on set, and Steve is just the loveliest, and he's very funny. But Alan Arkin was just a razor sharp wit.
A lot of women, kid. I have no reason to lie to you. Not one woman. A lot of women. You heard what I said? Did it go in anywhere?
I was listening to Sufjan Stevens' new album, which had just come out that summer, I think, and I played it for John and Val. I said, I'm gonna go see him in concert. So me and John and Val and Toni Collette and maybe some others went to see him, and then we went and hung out at, I think, the Chateau Marmont afterwards, like drinking tequila, and then they ended up putting a Sufjan song in the film. I do think that there's a really interesting thing for actors that you have to learn to trust, like, your thoughts. And I don't think I knew that at the time, but I look back on that now and I go, oh, Wish I'd known I could just really trust what I was thinking and feeling, and that if you're open, that it'll be received. There will be blood. You just brought the swell in.
That's right.
Yes, so just give me $500 in cash right now, and I'll tell you where it is.
I'll tell you what I'll do, son. I'll give you $100 now, and if it proves to be a promising lease, then I'll give you $1,000 bonus.
$600. I was cast at the last minute. I remember spending the day or two I had of prep sitting in the Sunday church, in my church, with my script and I think with some music. And I started learning the scenes and the lines. We filmed on, I believe, like a 40,000-acre ranch in Marfa, Texas. It was the summer, and I think we did some 6-day weeks, and it was period wool clothes. And I so wish I remembered more, but I remember sweating. I remember the sun. I remember seeing Daniel for the first time, who I had known, and we'd done a film together called The Battle of Jack and Rose, and I love him, but I remember showing up there and seeing him in his clothes and hearing his voice and, you know, going, oh, I think we would shake hands at the end of the day sometimes. I think it's a much more intuitive, natural thing than maybe it sounds, because it sort of makes sense if you don't get along with the character to stand across the room from each other, because I think you're building up the energy that's going towards the scene.
Daniel, are you a sinner?
Yes.
Oh, the Lord can hear you, Daniel. Say it to him. Go ahead and speak to him. It's all right.
Yes.
Down on your knees and to him. Look up to the sky and say it.
It was so clear, the film that was being made and what Daniel and Paul were bringing to it. I tried to do what was asked for in the writing that I think occurs in this character. I feel like the word possession feels important, like how to just let the possession of the scene and the words and the spirit pass through you. I'll never forget laying there in the blood and hearing Daniel say the last line of the film. The way he says it,
I'm finished.
I don't think anybody else would have done what he did. Swiss Army Man. I had actually seen their music videos late one night in a hotel room while I was filming a movie called Youth. And we were on night shoot, so I was staying up late. Saw their videos. I was like, these guys are brilliant. I was like, what is this? 2 days later, maybe, I got an email from my agent being like, these guys called the Daniels have a script they want to send you. And I was like, no effing way. And I opened it and I read the first 2 pages, which involved my character riding a corpse, farting jet ski. I was like, well, this is it. This is exactly, who I am. In almost every script, there's I don't want to say a key, but there's like a moment, an image, something where you're like, that's my first, hook. And with that one, as I said, it was the opening scene. So when we were out there and I was on this wakeboard with a dummy, and singing at the top of my lungs, and the music is beautiful in that film and awesome. And so even that, it just fills you up, the music. I will say I was very grateful that my scene partner was Daniel Radcliffe, and I had to carry him quite a bit. That was pretty brutal. I think it was a pretty tiring shoot. I think I was sore every day, even though we were having fun. Tired, sore. It felt like really good to be with those guys, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shiner, to be with them in the woods, making this crazy movie. And if you haven't seen it, it is one of the, I would say just go watch the first 5 minutes and you can choose whether to keep going. Love and Mercy.
I can take us further if you let me stay at home in the studio. It's what I need to do. And I promise, when you come back, I will have stuff for you that will blow your minds.
John Cusack and I play Brian Wilson. I think John and I met on my last day and his first day. We didn't communicate about playing the Brians. I think we trusted in Brian, in the character of Brian and in the sort of essence and spirit of Brian. And I think that the way that that film and script was structured, we were certainly not trying to get to a place of impersonation or imitation. I think we were trying to just get inside of a very complicated, artist. Nobody wants, you don't want to fake Brian Wilson's voice, but I mean, I think you can feel the heart-soul connection as for an audience watching an actor if they're actually playing or singing something. And I guess Brian approved because I was hoping to sing and play the stuff where Brian's alone in the film. So there's a moment in the film where I play some of God Only Knows and Some of You Still Believe in Me and some of Surf's Up. We filmed in the actual studio that he recorded Pet Sounds in back in '65, and they played the stuff in the studio live, and I got to work with them on camera. The physical thing of learning to play some songs and having to stretch my voice again. I used to sing, and that was an incredible experience for me. I was given access to a lot of session tapes and to hear Brian working with the musicians, and it's one of the best experiences I've had as an actor, and I think that's in large part to the music. It was a great gift to me, that part and that experience. Similarly to like Swissy, I think it relit some part of me. I don't know what part, but something got reactivated maybe.
Okay, Chuck, let's cut for a second, please.
For somebody who struggled, he wanted to give people something. I think he wanted to make them smile. And he made me smile. Okja. My name is Jay.
Jen and Jay? Nanakato glad.
We are animal lovers. I can't remember what I'd done right before Okja, but I know that I needed to play more of a hero type of character, somebody who stands for something, and that felt important and right in that moment for wherever I was in my life. I loved that pig. I mean, I remember Bong Joon-ho showing me a drawing of a pig years before this, and I was like, that's it. Like, that's the movie. Like, this pig, like, beautiful. It depended on the scene, but there was a couple of people who held a sort of a gray head that was there for us, which was great, because even a sort of grayish looking animal is better than nothing. You can project onto it pretty easily. In fact, like, we all like stuffed animals, like, like it's pretty clear we are able to give these things personalities and feel from them. And I remember there's a moment, right, where Jay pulls the shard of glass, I think from Okja's foot. And I loved the, the tenderness of that moment. You fill up my senses. I love my LF guys. We're still in touch. I had a great time there in Seoul, sitting on the Han River with those guys, drinking cheap soju, and I just had a really, we had a really good time. Night and day.
Oh my God, just die.
I have a really clear memory of watching Cruz work with the stunt team. And I remember seeing how he considered the audience and the impact of the stunts on the audience and how passionate and rigorous he was about that. And that was a real lesson. I had not been around that before. I had not seen an actor consider the audience and the impact of how the stunt and the cut of the camera would feel for the audience, and I took that with me. And I thought, okay, I would say most of the work that I've done isn't about that relationship, but I think it's fascinating and interesting to consider it in the right thing. I always think that the content lends itself to the form, and there's a group of people, there's a temperature and a vibration on set. There's the way the director works. There's the way that the crew works. I mean, one of my favorite DPs I worked with is Roger Deakins, because his crew is so quiet. There's like, and it brings a focus, and I really appreciate that. And I know when I was directing, I wanted it to feel like when my actors step on set, everything changes. Escape at Dannemora.
What the fuck are you doing in there?
Fucking dark in here, man.
Bro.
It was probably the hardest shoot I've ever done. Like 7 months, prison, just the color of those walls. And Ben sort of went to great lengths to have things feel as authentic as possible. And we shot in a lot of real locations and in some prisons, and a lot of our extras were ex-cons. And I really like how it turned out, I have to say. I was really impressed with what Ben did. And I guess I don't always know when I'm doing something. You forget, I think, that it is going to be really entertaining, and really, because like once you're in the prison and the reality of it, it's like, well, there's murder, and then it turns out to be a pretty good piece of entertainment. I do remember being in those pipes, actually. That was, man. One time Benicio showed up, they were trying to like measure out, like, could we do it in the actual size of the pipe that was there? He walked on set, nope. You know, like, right. Because like, I mean, we could barely fit in them. I liked that sledgehammer. I liked breaking down the walls. That was fun. The Fabelmans. Steven Spielberg making a film that's based on his childhood. It is semi-autobiographical. He wrote it with Tony Kushner, who's one of my favorite writers. And yeah, it's, I think, still hard for me to comprehend that Steven Spielberg would ask me to play his father, or a version of his father. This is, of course, a project that's very personal to him and was to all of us, and really meaningful. It's about a kid who discovers a family secret, and then how the camera and movies play a part in understanding who we are and the way the world works. And it was a big experience. I have not acted since. I spent a lot of time with Steven and talking to Steven, and family videos and audio and photographs, and it was sort of probably unprecedented access into that person's life. I mean, it's such a trip. But I loved this character, Bert, deeply. Beautiful person of integrity and thought, and I think deep love, but maybe not somebody who always knows how to express it. Ruby Sparks.
It's almost like I'm writing to spend time with her.
Who?
The girl. The one I'm writing. I go to sleep at night just waiting to get to my typewriter again so I can be with her. It's like I'm falling in love with her.
That's wonderful.
No, it's not. I can't fall in love with the girl I write.
Why not?
So my partner, Zoe, started writing this script, and I don't know what this says about me, but I think I sort of assumed it was like she was writing it for me or something, just to build a movie from the ground up and be a part of that process. The amount of love and care you put into it and what it then means to you. And I think one of the profound experiences on that, aside from making something with Zoe, was also just being on the other side of the casting table and seeing how many like wonderful and beautiful actors there are, and seeing that, oh, like, it's not about who's like good or who's bad or who's the best. It's like whose essence is right for this part. And I remember there was a recovery period from Ruby Sparks when Zoe and I had to figure out like what else we talked about at the dinner table. And I would say that that's the hardest part of working together.
No. I have to pee. Stay.
I don't remember over talking with Zoe about the character, because, you know, you're meant to interpret it, and if the writing's good, I think what she's saying through it is clear. Prisoners.
Where are those girls? Where are those girls? Hey, give me a flashlight. Sir, you show me where those girls, they're in the woods?
People love prisoners. This is one of those that you don't really want to do, but you do, if you know what I mean. I'd seen Denis film Incendie, and He told me Roger Deakins was shooting it, who I just had a massive crush on. Do I want to play that part? No. Like, really? Like, no. But like, yeah, actually I can see it, and I sort of like see a way in, and then soon enough you're doing it. One of the important moments in the development of that was just, I remember thinking, okay, if you've had that much trauma as a kid, you know, what happens when we're scared and what happens to our body, and just like, okay, what would happen if you just kept living with that? And so I think a way into that character for me was just through the physicality of how I held my body and my jaw even, because I needed to find a way out from my own mental health. I needed to find a way to step in and out of that. I knew I did not want to engage with that material. Brian Wilson and Love and Mercy, that's something where you're going to stay in the soup for the time you're doing it. It's easier to actually, like once you're in those waters, like stay in them. But with something like that, I was like, how do I, Paul, learn how to, and it was, a lot of it was through physicality and sort of saying, okay, if my body's like this, I'm entering into that character, and then, you know, can I exit out of it easier? Yeah, luckily Hugh Jackman's like the nicest dude in the world. It's true what everybody says. He's just a super sweetie, and so if you're gonna get beaten by somebody, it's nice to have Hugh on the other end of it. Yeah, I think I didn't know that was coming. Yeah, but I felt in good enough hands. Each time you're trying to trick yourself into like learning how to do it all again to keep it, you know. I remember on 12 Years a Slave, actually, Chiwetel was so good at pulling a punch that we had to do, and I was like, how does he do that? Because, you know, and I remember being like, I just felt stupid. I was like, you know, just hit me with the whip, because I don't want to have to act this.